Hey everyone, and thank you for joining me for today's 3 at 3. It is January 5th. I cannot believe it's January 5th, 2023, but here we are at the beginning of a new year, which, if you get my newsletter, you may know I have a love-hate relationship with the beginning of the new year because I do love the idea of a reset, but somehow it comes with these huge expectations that I'm not always super comfortable with. I feel a little too much like, okay, it's a new year, and now you have to do all these things. So I try not to do that too much, but I definitely do use it as a reset and a refresh. In today's 3 at 3, we do have 3 questions, and I am going to be answering those 3 questions. I am also going to be talking about my program that is open right now, Book Boss Strategy Intensive. So I will be talking about that. But for now, let's just get right into the questions with question number 1. Question number 1. I write romance and I sometimes struggle to write emotionally satisfying endings. Are there stages to a satisfying ending? This question really had my brain thinking because I was trying to think about what constitutes an emotionally satisfying ending, why a writer might struggle to get to one, and if there are stages. So, yes, there are stages of emotionally satisfying endings. And in the romance community, we see that people often talk about the HEA, the happily ever after, or happy ever after. But we also see, and I think this has just come about in maybe the last decade, maybe even shorter, is the HFN, which is the happy for now. So both give different levels of the emotionally satisfying ending. The happily ever after, in the reader's mind, they may just picture them living happily on forever and ever. And in fact, some readers don't even like to imagine the characters' deaths, even that they know that death is usually a part of certainly contemporary and historical romance, maybe not vampire romance. So they just like this idea that the book ends and those characters go off into the sunset and they're just being happy. They're being their best selves and living a happy life. And that is what is emotionally satisfying in the happily ever after. On the other hand, happily for now is giving the idea that they are happy as the book ends. They are working on their relationship. You don't necessarily know that they're going to go off into the sunset and live together forever, but you can perhaps believe it and buy into it. But you know they're happy right now and it's emotionally satisfying. So, those are 2 stages of emotionally satisfying endings. I think there's also different things that feel emotionally satisfying to different readers. So some readers really love the they're getting married as a emotionally satisfying ending. Um, Other readers are just okay with they're committed to each other. Some readers love the baby ending. Other readers don't love that baby ending. So I think it really depends on your audience and your market too, like what you're giving them, what are some of the cues. I think that one of the struggles with emotionally satisfying endings can happen because of pacing in the story leading up to it. So let me explain. I'm not going to go into the whole explanation of pacing, but let me just explain why I think that sometimes people struggle with emotionally satisfying endings and how this can be a pacing program. By that, I mean you've plotted your way through the book and you've had something happen. You've had that conflict, and you're reaching for conflict resolution. During the conflict resolution and the conflict throughout the book, you're also building a character or a character arc. And oftentimes, the conflict is dependent on one character's actions or inactions or something that they need to change. And so when you are having a struggle reaching that emotionally satisfying ending, what might be happening is that you are utilizing the character conflict in a way that the reader and you as an author subconsciously don't realize you haven't convinced the reader that the character has gotten to that point or they won't do that thing again, that their character arc has changed in a meaningful enough way that they can make their partner happy, they can be happy with their partner, they can move on and have a healthy relationship. So if you're struggling to get to that emotionally satisfying ending, I would encourage you to look at not just how you're trying to end it and where you're leaving them, but what you're using to lead up to that point. What does the character arc look like? What does the relationship arc look like? And what does the story and conflict arc look like? And looking at those might give you some insight into why the struggle for the emotionally satisfying ending. Now, on the other side of that, it may just be that you think that an emotionally satisfying ending looks one way, and you've just read so much romance over the past couple of decades that you have almost become conditioned that here's what an emotionally satisfying ending looks like, and you have to write it this way, but it doesn't fit your characters, your couple, your throuple, whatever you're writing on page. And so in that case, I would encourage you to think differently about the different ways, which I talked about just a bit ago, different ways that the ending can be emotionally satisfying. Is it exchanging I love you? Is it acknowledging the resolution and that they're going to be happy together? Is it a cute moment? Is it the baby? Is it the marriage? That's up to you, but trying to look different at the ending and what is emotionally satisfying will open up possibilities to you as well. Okay, question number two. Trying to decide which one to go next. I'm going to go to this one because it's on theme. What's your opinion on publishing two versions of a book, one with sex and a no sex version? This is such a controversial topic, and I kind of love it because it speaks right to the heart of something that I'm somewhat passionate about, which is author branding. And the reason that I think this question is really about author branding is because to me, this is straddling the fence. This is an author trying to market to everybody, to be every reader's option, rather than trying to market to the audience that they're writing for. So, if you're thinking of publishing two versions of a book, the first question I would ask you is why? Why are you thinking of doing this? And when you drill down, when you get honest with yourself, oftentimes the answer is because I want more people. I want more readers to pick up my book. I want to appeal to the reader who likes sex in books, and I want to appeal to the reader who doesn't like sex in books. To which I will say, well, okay, I mean, that's one thing you can do, and that's your choice. But I personally think that you're going to have a stronger brand and a stronger career if you commit to a brand. And committing to a brand means either having just a version with sex in it or having a version with no sex in it. And it's going to be up to you and your comfort level. Now, if you're uncomfortable writing sex scenes, then I would say there's a couple of things. One, you don't have to write sex scenes. That is not a requirement in any genre. No genre requires sex scenes. So, what I would say is this: if you're uncomfortable writing sex scenes, either figure out a way to get comfortable, which might just be exposure therapy and writing a whole bunch of sex scenes over and over and over again, or studying what is making you uncomfortable and figuring out techniques to overcome that, or not writing sex scenes. So you have a couple of options. But at the end of the day, what I would say is when you have a book with sex scenes, those sex scenes should feel integrated into the story, not just something that you can pull out and plop into a deleted scenes folder. If you can do that, then the sex scenes aren't there for the emotional development of the characters. They're not there for the relationship development. And they're not working within the plot. They're not furthering the story. They may just be gratuitous. And listen, there's nothing wrong with gratuitous sex. But if you're writing a book where you're trying to use the sex scenes as part of the relationship development, they shouldn't just be things that you can just cut and paste. So in that case, I would say if you can pull out the sex scenes to have a book with no sex, then those sex scenes probably didn't feel integrated for the reader anyway. And you may now have an issue with the version with sex scenes because it may not feel appealing to the reader. It may not feel as if they're going on the journey with the characters. It may feel uncomfortable to them as well. So I'm always going to suggest that you focus on your brand and either writing a book that has really great sex scenes that are well integrated into the story and feel as if they're building the relationship and taking the reader on a journey, or you focus your brand on writing books that have no sex scenes and write for the readers who are looking for those books. So it's up to you, but as you can see, I am not a fan of the straddling the fence version of marketing and growing your brand. I encourage you to go all in on one or the other, no pun intended. And the other thing that I just want to say briefly is please note that I did not use the word clean version because there are some negative connotations with implying that something is clean, meaning that things with sex are dirty. Yes, I know that we use, dirty romances and things like that, but that can really be seen as um, a degrading term or putting down something that does have sex. So I do avoid the term clean version, although I know it is a marketing term that some authors use. It just does not feel like a positive term for me. Okay, last question. The last question is, given the possibility TikTok might be banned or restricted in the United States, do you think it's worth building up a following on the platform and investing time and resources into creating content? I have actually talked about this a few times. I talked about this recently in our Book Boss Strategy Intensive in the last course. I've talked about this with the Success Alliance Mastermind members. And I have talked about it in my office hours when authors have contacted me privately to ask me this question. But I'm happy to answer it publicly as well because I think a lot of authors are wrestling with this question and wondering about TikTok. First, let me start by saying if TikTok makes you uncomfortable, don't use it. That is absolutely the first thing that you should always be aware of. You do not have to use any social media or any platform that makes you feel uncomfortable if you don't want to use it. There are other ways to promote and market your books, there's other ways to reach readers. TikTok, Book Talk is just one of them. Okay, setting that aside, I'm going to assume that you are interested in using TikTok and getting on Book Talk and promoting and you're wondering, is it worth it because of all the rumors swirling about? My answer is yes. If you are interested in doing this and you think it can move your career forward, then I would say go for it. And the reason is because even with all the rumors swirling, anything that happens is going to take time. And that is time that you could be developing something. And yes, it may feel at first glance as if you're wasting time developing something that might go away. But I look at it differently. I look at it as if you are going to develop, if you're going to take the time to develop your TikTok, your book talk, your readership there, at any moment you could find the right audience, you could find the right reader, and you could be building up at one reader at a time, five readers at a time, 10, 100. You don't know. There are possibilities. But if you want to explore the possibilities, then you should do that because it's not going to be a waste of time to get one reader. It's not going to be a waste of time to get five readers or 100 readers. Those are all readers that you're reaching that you weren't reaching before. So it's not a waste of time, even if it goes away, because you are coming out with something. So I am not someone who looks at something and goes, well, I wish I had never done that because I only got one newsletter subscriber or I only got one editing client. I look at it and go, well, there is somebody I didn't have on before, and maybe the return on investment, ROI, wasn't 100% or it wasn't millions of dollars or thousands of dollars or tens of thousands of dollars, but it is forward momentum, and that makes it worth it to me in some way. So to me, yes, it's still worth it because Book Talk is super hot right now. A lot of readers a lot of authors are finding success there and there is opportunity for you to find an audience and to grow some new readers. So if it's something that you're interested in, I say go for it. If it's not something you're interested in, that's okay. Don't worry about it. Okay, um, that is all of our questions for today. I'm going to talk just a little bit about my new session of Book Boss Strategy Intensive. Book Boss Strategy Intensive is happening starting January 9th, and it is my group coaching program where it is a highly supportive 14-week program taking you on an author journey to build your career. And that means that building a career to the success that you want, to something that looks like success for you, not for anybody else, and doing it around the life that you have now, the capabilities, the time. It is, again, highly supportive. It is structured for you. And I will tell you that 75% of people who go through Book Boss Strategy Intensive continue on to the Success Alliance Mastermind because they do see it as supportive and they want that continued support, the continued book coaching and mentoring that I provide in that program. And if you like the 3 at 3, I answer questions like this all of the time for Book Boss Strategy Intensive and Success Alliance members. They get access to me in Discord, on Zoom, and in office hours so that you can ask personal questions. So it is a high touch program that we are registering everybody in now. There are, I think, 8 spots left. We are limited to 15 spots and we start on January 9th. If you're interested, you can go to the um, link on the screen. It is bit.ly BBSY Winter 23. I look forward to seeing you. If you have any questions, please let me know and I'd be happy to answer them. There is a chat box on the website so you can ask questions and I will be there to answer questions. Now, let me give you one small little insight. Next, we are starting, hopefully with the next 3 at 3, we're going to be starting candid cold reads where we read first pages and critique them live on the air. You'll hear Dan reading them and I will be hearing them for the first time and I will be offering my critique. If you are interested in doing that, I will just tell you that the first spots are going to go to those who are in the Book Boss Strategy Intensive and Success Alliance, and then to those who are in the From Written to Recommended community. So if you want to take part in that, I encourage you to join one of those programs and to take advantage of all the resources we have. Excuse me. So with that, I will end this session. It has been excellent. I really enjoyed today's questions. If you have any follow-up questions, please find me in the Publishing Insider, our free Facebook group, or in any of our communities. Have a great week and happy 2023, everybody.